Hello, my name's Laura Richard. I am an Internet Marketing Master's student with Full Sail University, and I'm joined tonight by Kim Deppe, who is the CEO and President of Deppe Communications. Welcome, Kim.
Hi, thank you.
Great. Well, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about Deppe Communications and about your experience with web analytics?
Deppe Communications is a new company. I've been in business since October of 2011, and I do online marketing as well as traditional marketing for small and medium-sized businesses. I utilize skills that I learned in an online class, a series of classes, to help my clients move from traditional marketing to take advantage of what they can do online.
Well, how did you get started in web analytics?
Well, I actually tend to be a bit of a computer geek. So I've always tried to be on the leading edge, if you will, of what's going on, and so early into doing things online with websites and so forth. Built the first website in 1994 for a hospital in Jacksonville. And I began to use computers for analyzing data way back even before the web was the web. I used to use LexisNexis to do a lot of research and so forth and pull data out of the internet. It's just gotten easier, obviously, over time. I started to use the Google Analytics programs probably 3 to 4 years ago, but it's a great tool, and it does things for marketers that we used to have to spend days and weeks finding out, and now we can track it in real time.
What does a web analyst do, and why is it important?
Well, web analytics is a part of what I do. So for me, it helps me measure my work. It's about accountability for me, being accountable to my clients, and also it helps me be more productive and efficient. And let me give you an example. I'm able to test different Google AdWords, for example, with different pictures and different colors. And I did an experiment for a client of mine, and we could see that one ad was consistently outdoing all the others. And we figured out that it was when we had a picture of the green shirt that advertised her product, that was getting all the clicks. And the exact same copy, the exact same headline, but the white shirt or the red shirt weren't getting the clicks. And so we just started to use that information to tweak our advertising and push more clicks through to her site.
Well, what qualities do you think are most important to be successful in web analytics, and what advice would you give someone starting out?
It's probably both, the same answer for both, and that is constantly stay on top of what's going on. As I know you've heard, Google changes its algorithms 500 times a year. That is huge, constant change. There are all kinds of other changes going on. Yahoo's making changes, Bing makes changes, and so it's difficult to keep up with all of that. But find a couple of really good websites. Mashable is one of my favorites. SEO Lands is another one of them. And just read them and keep track of what's going on. And it really is, for marketers, it's a whole new way for us to hear the voice of the customer. Trust the consumer to tell you what makes them happy and listen to them.
Now, what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of web analytics? Web analytics. Like, what are the myths that you think exist?
I guess the thing I hear most of all is that it's so difficult. Clients in particular who aren't particularly web savvy or don't spend any time on Facebook or Google, they really think that it's some, very difficult, almost secret kind of thing that only really specialized people get to understand. I think as I've sat down with some folks and walked through it with them, this light dawns on them that, wow, it's really not that difficult. I can understand it. The graphs will help. There's always more to it than what's just in the raw numbers. And it takes the analytics side, the strategic side of marketing to look into that and really understand what it's really telling you. Just knowing that 40% of people, drink tea or whatever doesn't really tell me anything unless I can really dig into the data and find out, well, that's because coffee's too expensive.
How do you use web analytics to drive improvement for your business? And do you have any examples?
Well, yeah, and I gave you the example of the green shirt, but I actually monitor pretty much at least once a week, generally more often, all the various client sites that I operate. And I use a variety of tools, not just Google Analytics. I found a tool called Alexa that I find very valuable too. And Market Grader on HubSpot, also very helpful. Web Grader, excuse me. And it tells me a lot of things. Like a lot of times Google will list backlinks that aren't listed elsewhere. And Alexa will list backlinks that Google doesn't list. So if I just relied on one or the other, I would not have the full picture of where the links are coming into my site or one of my client sites. And that's proven to be very helpful to know. I have an analytic tool called Optify that I use. It's a subscription-based product, and it permits me to see specifically who came to the website. So, for example, I've got a client signed up for this, and every day I get a daily report of what URLs came to our website. And if there's a particular email address associated with that URL, we'll get that too. So she'll know that, Joe Smith from University of North Florida just looked at her website yesterday. And if she didn't hear from Joe Smith, she has the opportunity, because she has his email address, to reach out to him. So that's been a very good tool for her. Let me give you an example. Her business is targeted toward law enforcement agencies and schools. And so we did a lot of work tweaking the SEO on her site and a lot of content to reflect that. And then within about 3 or 4 weeks, we started to see more visits from schools, from law enforcement agencies, and we knew that we had been successful in doing what we did, making the changes. So I could look at Google and know that I had X number of clicks, but I wouldn't have known that they were from schools or law enforcement agencies without Optify.
How do you decide what is important to measure and what trends are relevant? There's so much.
There is. You're right. There's absolutely so much. And the answer to that is it depends. Because it depends on the client and what I need to measure. So I'll give you a great example from the credit union world. We found we had an almost 90% bounce rate on our website. We could not figure out why that was, and it really disturbed me until we realized that that was people logging in to their online banking. And so they weren't really leaving the site, but they were leaving that URL and going to the behind the scenes URL for a different online banking site. And so once we understood that, then I didn't look at that data any longer because it was meaningless for us.
Gotcha.
Now, if I have my shirt seller, if she's got a 90% bounce rate, we've got a problem. So it really does depend on what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Do you measure your company's social networking sites' performance? And if so, what types of data do you track and what tools do you use to help track that?
Most of my clients are on Facebook. I do use the Facebook tracking information. It's pretty good. I do Facebook advertising for some of my clients as well, and they have a fairly robust reporting system as well. I look at the amount of engagement that's going on, I always encourage my clients to use it as a social tool, not a sales tool, and to try to get people to build a relationship with them. So that's what we're looking for, is the engagement.
Do you analyze your clients' competition? And if so, how do you obtain these insights?
I also tend to do Google searches for the keywords of the client and see who's coming up. See if that's coming up, number one, and if so, where. And then I can tell a lot about who their real competition online is by those that are coming up. A lot of times people will think a couple of businesses are actually their competitors, where online they're invisible. And they might be competition on the street, but they aren't online. And there may be some, stealth competitor online that they never even knew about.
What part of the website should you focus on first?
Not the place where everybody starts. Everybody always starts on the home page. For me, it's the conversion page. Wherever you're going to convert into sales or leads. And that's hard to get folks to understand. But that order form or, that lead page where you're collecting information, that's really the most important. That's the end of the funnel that you want people to go through. And so you start with the end in mind there. How do I get them here? But most people start here.
Well, I'm gonna thank you so much for doing this for me. I appreciate it so much, and like I said, I've learned so much.